kind of talk about that, preview it. Yeah, sure. Del Harris has received a very prestigious award, the John Wooden Keys to Life, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Which is, as I understand it, analogous to a Lifetime Achievement Award for touching the game and touching people in a diverse,
Am I totally in your way?
a lot of diverse different ways. Del's a longtime friend and someone I've respected for decades. He set a great example for a lot of us who've come up through the ranks, and so we'll have him up here in a second, and then my other great friend, our great friend Nancy Lieberman, also has received a Naismith recognition for outstanding and ongoing contributions to women's basketball. And as we all know, she's a great pioneer in all of women's sports. And what I always say is, when you have a daughter that's going to be 10 years old in May, it's good to say, you know what, we know somebody that's living proof that you can do anything you want to in life. Nancy's done so much in sport, so much with her philanthropic efforts too. So, want to bring them up, Sarah?
Yes, that'd be great.
You guys want to come up?
Hey, Malcolm. The podium. Are they going to get a podium here? Or?
No, just sit. If you guys want to sit on the chairs, we'll just do it that way. Yeah, there we go. You and Nancy want to sit down. Because the podium, I mean,
Congratulations,
it's working.
Don.
Do you want to do the podium or are you doing the
I think it's working, but you guys just want to sit too, that's fine.
Yeah.
Circle. Good luck.
Thank you. Is Donnie here?
He's here.
Well,
Yeah. However, Donnie wants to do it, yeah. Do you want to, do you guys want to just sit and answer questions, or do you want to use the podium?
We're fine here.
Okay, let's just do that. If you guys have any questions, that would be great. Do you want to say a few words, Donnie?
Or
Okay.
Dave, or...
Thank you.
we're not coming.
Check. Everybody can hear me. Everyone knows that April 4, the eyes of the basketball world returned to Dallas with the Final Four, and the names Naismith and Wooden are is about as good as it gets. And we have two of our own here that are part of our community that have lived here. Nancy now 30 years. Del started his coaching career, as everyone knows, back in Houston, his professional coaching career in Houston. And before that, in Indiana, born and bred in Indiana. And as luck would have it, we're playing the old Indiana Pacers tonight. And again, to show tribute to both Del and Nancy, they're true Texas icons. I think a well-deserved round of applause is in order. So congratulations.
So they can answer some questions if you guys have any for them. That would be awesome.
We'll start with you, Del. When did you guys find out that y'all were going to be receiving these awards? And how did all this go down?
Well, I actually found out about mine at a meeting that they were having to help generate some interest in the breakfast itself. And so I've been working a little bit helping them line up a thing or two down here. And so I was invited to the meeting and thought I was just going to say a little something about this and that. And they said, well, you're the guy. So, you know, that's that.
What about you, Nancy?
I was in Maui. I was doing clinics with Dave Odom for the Maui Invitational, and I was at the airport when Eric Oberman from the Atlanta Tip-Off Club called me and said that they were giving this award to myself at the Men's Final Four on April 6th, and Pat Summitt and Billy Moore and Jody Conrad, and I mean, there were so many esteemed people who have been great contributors over the years to the history of women's basketball, and I was overwhelmed that they would think of me in that breath, to be quite honest. And to be up here with Del is an even greater honor, and that you guys would take time out of your busy night to recognize us. Thank you on behalf of Dell and myself.
Bill, you're still connected with the game, obviously, in many ways, but you miss prowling the sideline?
Yeah, I do. I miss the practices, actually, and relationships more than anything. And you know, games are a part of it, but they're a result of everything else. Yeah, I would like to have continued on, but there comes a time. And fortunately, Nancy and I are both connected, at least to the game. We both are, you know, in the front office of the Texas Legends that is doing really well under the ownership of Donnie Nelson. So we're happy with that. And we both do some broadcasting of NBA games. Nancy particularly has a full schedule. I have a part schedule with Fox Sports Southwest with the New Orleans Pelicans. So we're doing those things. And but there's nothing quite like the coaching thing. And otherwise I wouldn't have done it for 53 years.
Nancy, what major changes have you seen in the women's game since you first started playing, and what changes would you like to see going forward?
Well, first I'd like to say the women's game collegiately and at the WNBA level is in really great hands. The young players today have such a tremendous respect for the history of the game, and we must do that to continue to grow. Everybody can play. I mean, there are no dogs out there. If you're getting a scholarship to play in college, the ratings are up in the WNBA. There's growth on both sides of the ball with how we play the game. But I will have to say, after being on the men's side for the last 5 or 6 years, after Donnie gave me an opportunity to coach the Legends, I look at the women's game and I know how much they've learned from the men. And I know sometimes people don't want to hear that, but these guys have been so gracious. The men who have coached in the WNBA or coached at the collegiate level have given a lot of information to us so we can be better. And that's a good thing. I know with the Legends, I was embraced by coaches all over the NBA and the D-League, sharing vital information. So, we need you guys to champion us to continue to go to the next level. And you're seeing it with, everything from ratings to attendance to more opportunities for young girls and women at every level. So I'm really glad to be a part of that, and just thankful enough to even be on the men's side, or my aspirations to coach, to hopefully coach in the NBA one day.
Last month, LeBron James gave us his Mount Rushmore of all-time greatest men's player. Do you have a Mount Rushmore to win?
I don't have a Mount Rushmore. There's been so many great players. I mean, it's so hard to look at the totality of the game, and I can tell you in my mind, I believe Cheryl Miller is the greatest player that's ever played. But we've had so many great ones, and I'm talking about today's players. I'm talking about the Maya Moores. It's easy, I guess I'm really lucky, like Dell, to have been young enough to have played against players in the 60s and 70s, but old enough now at 55 to have had a chance to see today's great talent. I haven't really had a chance to think about the Mount Rushmore, but there are some pretty stout players. But it would start for me with Cheryl Miller.
Would you be on that list?
That's a given. Come on, you know that.
I mean, you know what? There's been so many players who have played this game. There have been a handful of players who have changed the game. If I'm in that breath, I thank God, and I really appreciate people thinking of me at that, in that vein. But I can't be the judge of what I've done. I was just doing something that I loved.
Yeah, since this is a Keys to Life award, was there ever a time in your life where you didn't think basketball would be a part of your life, that maybe you were going to go into a different area, you know, back as a younger man, that's all, always where you wanted to go?
Well, of course, I started out, most of you know, I was going to be a preacher, so and I did, still do that most of the time. But it became obvious early on that what I was called to do was to coach basketball primarily. But the way you phrased the question, yes, there were certain times after I got fired that I thought, well, maybe, you know. But I would be remiss if I didn't say a couple of things. Number one, supporting Nancy's comment about some of the things that she's done. They haven't all been with women. She's coached the men's team. She's played on men's professional teams, and she just this last fall coached these rookies and younger players in the Tim Gerderich camp, the only woman to ever do anything like that, coaching men at the highest levels. So she's prepared to do those things, obviously. But the other thing I do want to say, because this is the award's not about me, it's about John Wooden. And when I was growing up in Indiana, I grew up about 30 miles or so from Martinsville, where he played. And again, when I was quite young and starting to play, the NBA hadn't started yet, I know. So our heroes in those days in Indiana were the high school players and the college players that had established themselves. You know, the guys like Coach Wooden, he was the number one. I mean, as a player, winning the championships in high school, and then being at Purdue and the best player at that time in that our little world, you know. And we had others. Those were our heroes. And then as that continued on, when I was in the 50s in high school, the NBA by then it had started up, but there was 8 teams playing, and there weren't anything on TV, nothing like that. So John Wooden was a guy that was the epitome of basketball for me and a lot of others when we were kids. And so when I started coaching, he was on top, obviously, and I went wherever I could to listen to his clinics. I went all the way to New York one time just to hear him, and I patterned as much as I could from his work and what I learned from him, and also from Dean Smith. Just a little bit later on, he came into our place in 1966, 67, and spent 2 days, and was in my home and so forth. So those 2 guys were the foundation for what I tried to do. Now, I was a poor representation of John Wooden, I'm sure, but I was later on, when I was in LA, able to spend time with him. I sat at UCLA practices and watched the team practice. I took him to lunch. I sat in his apartment an entire afternoon and talked about basketball and life. And my dad, when he died, and I was going through his things, and he always, he called Coach Wooden Coach Wooden. But he thought I was Iowa too. So, but anyway, he thought he was, the best ever, and so forth. And when going through his things, he had a picture, I don't know where he got it, of the Wooden family. He had a Wooden family photo among his things. And so I know that he's been gone now since 1998, and it was a life-changing event for me when he died. And I know that of all the things that might have come my way, this would be the most important thing that my dad would have appreciated.
This is for both of you. On this day that you're being honored, a young man turns 92 today named Abe Pollock, a man who's given us a new way we look at statistics and such in the NBA since 1947. What comes to mind when you hear that name?
Well, I mean, he changed our game. You know, we're talking about game changers. So it's hard to believe 92. That's unbelievable. You know, he gave us something to measure our game by. And I would like to segue a little bit about John Wooden and Dell quickly. You know, I had the privilege of being around John Wooden a lot, and there's nobody who exemplifies what John, his philosophy of how to treat people, faith, to coach, than Dell Harris. John would have been just thrilled to death to know that, you know, this man is getting an award in his name. I didn't personally know James Naismith, but I do know that it was Dell who suggested that he cut the bottom of the peach basket out because Dell was tired of running up the ladder to get the ball out. Now, you can try and find information on that story. I do not think you will. But, so I'm really proud to be up here for what Dell's done for all sports on all level, beyond basketball. It's an absolute honor. And, you know, I'm one of the people that he's affected in my life. So then when you talk about what Abe did, indirectly he affected all of us, because we still use the things, the metrics of what he has given us. So we're very fortunate to still have him a part of our game on some level.
Well, he has a staff for everything. I mean, it's metrics plus, though. I mean, it's just amazing. His little book that he put out every year is. I always look forward to it. He always sent me one because he knew that I was a guy that saw analytics, metrics as a tool, a very important tool. I've always distinguished that it's not the tool, just so that the guys at MIT don't get the big head. But I think he's a fun guy. I always enjoyed seeing him when we went to Philly. We were kindred spirits in a lot of ways. And of course, we're about the same age, so.
All right, but don't you agree that he gave, I mean, there's guys who have jobs in this league right now because of what he did. So indirectly, he affected people's lives. You know, we have analytics guys, we've got guys who just, you know, researchers that dig themselves into statistics. He was the guy that opened that area to our sport, so, you know, just happy to have him. And you know, one more thing, you know, we're with the Texas Legends. We are the #1, I mean, we've set the bar so high with the D-League, and if it really wasn't for Donnie Nelson and for Evan Wiley and our owners and, you know, Malcolm Farmer and Bill Boyce and really the core of who we are, I mean, that has given Dell and I a chance to really work closer together, to see the game on different levels, and just to be really grateful to be able to share basketball on yet another level and help young people. You know, we had Jay down there and Shane and Sarge and, you know, Lito. I mean, it's really phenomenal what this D-League has meant to these young men's careers. Go ask Chris Anderson. Go ask JJ Barea, go ask some of these guys. It's phenomenal, and to have our guys not only have a D-League team, but, you know, we are, you know, the measuring stick for the D-League teams on many levels. So I'm really proud, and I know Dell's really proud to be a part of this organization.
Absolutely.